In the city of Dara, Obo and Shori were driving home after visiting Shori's parents. The car hummed along the road in relative silence, broken only by the occasional sound of passing vehicles. Obo focused on navigating the busy streets, while Shori gazed out of the window, lost in her thoughts. As they approached a quieter stretch, Obo's phone vibrated on the dashboard. The screen lit up, catching Shori's attention. She glanced at it instinctively, her heart sinking as she read the notification. The message read, "Well done, Obo, your performance was great yesterday, great job." Suspicion flared in her mind. She turned toward Obo, her voice sharp. "What's this supposed to mean, Obo? Whose message is this?" Obo glanced briefly at the notification, before returning his eyes to the road. "It's just about work," he said. "My project manager congratulating me on a presentation I gave yesterday." Shori frowned, her doubt growing. Why does it sound so personal? What kind of performance is she talking about? Obo sighed, his tone growing weary. "Shori, can we talk about this later? I'm driving." "No, Obo. I want to know now," Shori pressed, her voice rising. "Are you hiding something from me?" "I'm not hiding anything," Obo snapped, gripping the wheel tightly. "It's just work. Don't lie to me," Shori shouted, waving his phone at him. As their voices clashed, Obo's attention wavered. His eyes flicked between Shori, the phone, and the road. A blaring horn jolted him, but it was too late. A truck veered into their lane. Obo swerved sharply, but the car spun out of control, skidding across the road before crashing into a lamppost with a sickening crunch of metal. When the chaos subsided, the car was crumpled against the pole. Shori had minor injuries, a few bruises and a cut on her forehead, but she was conscious. Obo, however, lay slumped against the airbag, unconscious. "Obo!" Shori screamed, her voice shaking as she tried to wake him. His body was limp, his head tilted to one side. A crowd quickly gathered, pulling open the doors to free them. The ambulance arrived soon after, rushing them both to the hospital. Hours later, Shori sat in the waiting room, her heart pounding. Her injuries had been treated, but Obo's condition remained unclear. Finally, a doctor approached her, his expression serious but calm. "Your husband sustained significant injuries," he began. "He suffered trauma to his head, which has affected his vision, and the lower part of his spinal cord has been damaged. For now, he has lost sensation and mobility in both legs. He can't walk." Shori's breath caught in her throat. Will he recover? Will he ever walk or see again? The doctor's tone softened. "It's difficult to say. His condition may improve with time and therapy, but there's no certainty. It could take weeks, months, or even longer. We're hopeful, but you should be prepared for all possibilities." Shori nodded, tears streaming down her face. "Can I see him?" The doctor led her to Obo's room. He lay on the bed, his legs motionless beneath the blanket, and his eyes closed. Machines beeped softly around him. "Obo," Shori whispered, taking his hand. Slowly, his eyes fluttered open. "Shori," he murmured, his voice weak and hoarse. "I'm here," she said, her voice trembling with emotion. He blinked, his gaze unfocused. I can't see." Shori squeezed his hand tightly. "The doctor said it might be temporary. You're going to get through this, Obo. I'll be here every step of the way." Obo swallowed hard, his voice cracking. "And my legs." Shori's lips trembled. "You've lost sensation in them for now, but the doctors are optimistic. They think therapy could help." For a moment, Obo was silent, the weight of his condition sinking in. "I can't see. I can't walk." "Shori, what am I supposed to do?" "You're supposed to fight," she said firmly, wiping her tears. "And I'll fight with you. We'll get through this together." In the weeks that followed, Shori devoted herself to Obo's care. After weeks in the hospital, Obo was finally discharged. When he arrived home, it was clear that life as he knew it had changed dramatically. The once vibrant and independent man now depended entirely on Shori for even the simplest tasks. Though the doctors had given him hope that he might walk again and regain his sight, the recovery process would be long and uncertain. In the beginning, Shori dedicated herself to his care. She felt an overwhelming sense of guilt, knowing that the accident had happened because of her argument. She regretted not believing Obo when he had tried to explain himself. After the accident, she had checked his phone thoroughly and confirmed that everything he had said was true. It had indeed been a congratulatory message from his project manager about a presentation. The realization weighed heavily on her heart. She resolved to make amends by taking care of him, no matter how hard it got. She prepared his meals, helped him with therapy exercises, and assisted him in moving around the house, even carrying him to the bathroom when necessary. She constantly reassured him, telling him, "We'll get through this. I'll be here for you." But as the weeks turned into months, the strain began to wear on Shori. The physical demands of caregiving were exhausting, and the emotional toll was even greater. At first, Shori tried to hide her frustration. She smiled through the challenges and told herself it was her duty to take care of Obo. But as time went on, her patience started to thin. The repetition of daily caregiving tasks, helping him out of bed, assisting him to the toilet, guiding him to his chair, became overwhelming. One day, as she struggled to help Obo to the bathroom, he accidentally stepped on her foot, causing her to stumble. "For God's sake, Obo. Can't you at least try to be careful?" she snapped, her voice sharp. Obo froze, his head bowing. "I'm sorry," he mumbled, his voice barely audible. Shori immediately regretted her outburst, but didn't apologize. Instead, she walked away to collect herself. As the weeks continued, moments like this became more frequent. She began to complain openly. "I'm tired, Obo. I can't do everything. I haven't left this house in weeks. I don't even have time for myself anymore," she would say, her voice rising with frustration. Obo, who was already battling feelings of helplessness, was devastated by her words. He hated being a burden and felt like he was losing the strong, loving relationship they once had. Shori's frustration wasn't just physical, it was emotional too. She missed their old life, the freedom they once enjoyed, the outings, the laughter, and the intimacy. Now, every day felt like a chore. "I can't live like this," she muttered one day as she sat at the kitchen table, her head in her hands. "It's like I don't have a life anymore. I'm just existing to take care of you." Her words hit him like a blow, and he felt a deep, aching sadness that he couldn't express. Shori started going out more often, leaving Obo alone for hours at a time. She needed to escape the walls of the house, the constant reminders of the accident, and the weight of her guilt. She told herself she deserved to enjoy life, to have a break. But every time she left, Obo sat in silence, feeling abandoned. The complaints and distance between them widened the rift in their relationship. Obo became quieter, retreating into himself. He no longer asked Shori for help unless it was absolutely necessary, even though it made things harder for him. He didn't want to be the source of her unhappiness. Shori, too, felt trapped in a cycle of guilt and resentment. She hated how she felt, angry, bitter, and overwhelmed, but she didn't know how to fix it. One evening, after a particularly difficult day, Shori snapped. "I can't keep doing this, Obo. I'm not a nurse. I didn't sign up for this life." Obo's face fell, and his voice was barely above a whisper. I never wanted this either, Shori. I never asked for this. His words cut through her anger, and for a moment, silence hung between them. Shori felt the weight of her guilt again, but instead of apologizing, she turned away, unable to face the pain in his voice. Shori's behavior grew increasingly distant as the days turned into weeks. She spent more and more time outside the house, indulging in shopping, meeting friends, or simply escaping the responsibilities of caring for Obo. The guilt she had initially felt began to fade, replaced by resentment at how her life had been upended. Meanwhile, Obo was left at home, alone and struggling to manage his daily needs. One afternoon, while Shori was out, Obo's best friend, Richard, stopped by unannounced. Richard, a tall and imposing man with a warm heart, was carrying a bag of groceries. He knocked loudly, waiting for someone to answer. When no one did, he pushed the door open, it had been left unlocked, and stepped inside. "Obo!" Richard called out, his voice echoing through the house. "In here," came a faint reply from the living room. Richard entered to find Obo seated in his wheelchair, a plate of half-eaten food on the small table before him. There were crumbs on the floor and an empty glass, just out of reach. Obo's hands trembled slightly, as he tried to guide a fork to his mouth. "Obo, what's going on?" Richard asked, frowning as he quickly set the groceries down and moved to help his friend. "Why are you eating like this? Where's Shori?" Obo hesitated, embarrassment and sorrow filling his face. "She's out. She had some errands to run." Richard's frown deepened. "Out? Again? Obo, how often does she leave you like this?" Obo sighed, setting the fork down. He didn't want to paint Shori in a bad light, but the weight of the situation made him speak. "She's been going out a lot lately. I can manage. I don't want to burden her too much." Richard's face darkened with anger. "Burden her? Are you serious? Obo, you're her husband. Taking care of you isn't a burden, it's what she should be doing. What's really going on here?" After some hesitation, Obo began to explain everything. He told Richard how Shori had been supportive at first, but slowly grew distant and frustrated. He confessed that it had been weeks since he had gone out, months since he had attended therapy, or followed up on his treatments. "You're not going to therapy?" Richard exclaimed, his voice rising in disbelief. "What about your re-education? Your eyes? The doctors said there was hope, didn't they? What's going on with all that?" Obo shook his head. "No one's taking me. Shori said she doesn't have time to take me, and she said we can't afford to hire someone." Richard's face twisted in disbelief. "What do you mean you can't afford it? Obo, you're rich. You've always been smart with your finances. I know you have the means to pay for help." Obo hesitated before answering, his voice heavy with resignation. "Since the accident, Shori has been managing everything. She told me that things are tight financially, and that we can't afford additional expenses right now. I didn't want to argue or make things harder for her. But," he paused, a shadow of doubt crossing his face, "she still manages to shop and do her own things. I don't know how she makes it work." Richard's eyes narrowed, anger simmering beneath his calm exterior. "Obo, this doesn't add up. You worked too hard your whole life to be told you're broke now, especially while she's out spending money on herself. Something is seriously wrong here." Obo sighed, feeling the weight of his helplessness. "I don't want to think the worst of her, Richard. She's under a lot of pressure." Richard shook his head, determined. "This isn't just pressure, it's neglect. If she won't step up, then I will." Without waiting for permission, Richard took out his phone and began making calls. "We're hiring someone to help you, Obo. You can't go on like this," You need proper care, someone to take you to therapy, your follow-ups, and to help around the house. Obo started to protest, but Richard cut him off. Don't even start with the "I don't want to be a burden" nonsense. This is about your health and your future. If Shori says she doesn't have time, fine. I'll make sure someone does. By the end of the evening, Richard had arranged for a professional caregiver to come to Obo's home. The person would not only assist Obo during the day, but also sleep over to ensure they were available at night if needed. Richard placed a hand on Obo's shoulder. This isn't just about getting by, Obo. This is about you getting your life back, one step at a time. I'll cover the cost if I have to, but you're going to get the help you need. Obo nodded slowly, gratitude and relief flooding him. For the first time in months, he felt a glimmer of hope. With Richard's unwavering support and the arrival of professional help, perhaps the road to recovery wouldn't feel so impossible after all. A few days later, he arrived at Obo's house with a young woman named Thandi. She was in her late 20s, with kind eyes and a calm, professional demeanor. When Richard introduced her, Obo immediately protested. "Richard, I told you I wanted a man for this. I don't feel comfortable with a woman helping me with such personal tasks," Obo said, his voice firm. Thandi smiled warmly, stepping forward. "I understand your concerns, Mr. Obo. I want you to know that my goal is to help you regain your independence. I'll respect your privacy completely and work with you to ensure you can handle these tasks on your own. You won't feel helpless. I'll show you how to manage step by step." Richard added, "She's one of the best, Obo. Just give her a chance. If it doesn't work out, I'll find someone else." Reluctantly, Obo agreed, and Thandi began her work immediately. She proved to be patient and understanding, taking the time to teach Obo how to manage everyday tasks despite his blindness and loss of mobility. She even devised a system for him to handle bathroom tasks independently. "You're doing so well, Mr. Obo," she said after one particularly successful day. "You're stronger than you think." Thandi also accompanied Obo to his doctor's appointments and therapy sessions. With her encouragement and consistent care, Obo's condition began to improve. One day, during an eye examination, the doctor gave Obo surprising news: his vision was beginning to return. "It's early," the doctor said, "but with continued treatment, your sight could fully recover." That evening, as Obo sat alone in the house, he realized he could faintly make out the shape of his hands. Joy filled his heart, but he decided to keep the news to himself. He wanted to tell Shori when the moment was right. As the days turned into weeks, Obo and Thandi spent more time together. Her cheerful spirit and genuine care became a bright spot in his life. Obo began to realize he was developing feelings for her, something he hadn't expected. But the thought of acting on those feelings felt like a betrayal to Shori, despite her neglect. Obo reminded himself of his vows and chose to suppress his emotions. No matter what, he wanted to remain faithful to his wife, even if their marriage was strained. One evening, Obo decided it was finally time to tell Shori about his improving condition. He sat in the living room, waiting for her to return home. The house was quiet except for the faint ticking of the clock. When the front door finally opened, Obo straightened in his wheelchair, his heart filled with anticipation. But instead of walking in alone, Shori entered with another man. Obo's breath caught as he saw her put a finger to her lips, motioning for the man to be silent. She glanced toward the living room briefly, but didn't notice that Obo was watching her. Obo sat frozen as Shori led the man toward the bedroom. She moved quietly, careful not to make any noise. Obo's heart sank as realization struck. His wife had brought another man into their home, unaware that he could see everything. As Obo sat in the silent house that night, his heart shattered into pieces. Shori's betrayal had confirmed his worst fears, but it also gave him clarity. He resolved that he wouldn't allow himself to be a victim any longer. From that moment, Obo dedicated himself fully to his recovery, with Thandi by his side. Thandi continued to care for him with unwavering kindness, encouraging him through every step of his physical therapy and follow-up appointments. Under her guidance and the doctor's careful treatment, Obo's eyesight was completely restored, and he gradually regained sensation and partial mobility in his legs. Eventually, he was able to stand with assistance and, later, walk short distances with the help of a cane. One evening, Obo decided it was time to confront Shori. He had regained his strength, but he still hadn't told Shori, waiting for the right moment. That night, he sat quietly in the living room, pretending to be the same helpless man she thought he was, unaware that his patience was about to pay off. As the front door opened, Obo turned to see Shori enter, but she wasn't alone. The same man from before walked in with her, and they both acted cautiously, glancing toward Obo. Seeing him seated in his usual spot in the wheelchair, Shori assumed he was still blind and immobile. She motioned for the man to stay quiet, placing a finger to her lips. They tiptoed past Obo and headed straight for the bedroom, laughing softly under their breath. This time, Obo decided he wouldn't let it slide. His heart pounded with anger and resolve as he stood up, grabbed his cane, and followed them. When he reached the bedroom door, he pushed it open with force. "What do you think you're doing in my house?" Obo's voice rang out, startling Shori and the man. Shori spun around, her face pale with shock. Her eyes widened in disbelief when she saw Obo standing in the doorway, leaning on his cane. "You're standing," she stammered, taking a step back. "And I can see," Obo said coldly, his voice steady. "Did you really think I'd never recover? That I'd stay helpless forever while you brought another man into our home?" The man, clearly uncomfortable, took a step toward the door, but Obo pointed his cane at him. "Don't move," he said firmly. "I'm not done yet." Turning back to Shori, Obo's voice trembled with emotion. "I gave you everything, Shori. I stayed loyal to you even when you neglected me. I forgave your complaints, your anger, and your selfishness, because I thought we could rebuild what we had. But this is beyond anything I could ever forgive." Shori's face crumpled as she stammered, "Obo, I didn't mean." "Stop," Obo interrupted sharply. "You didn't mean to abandon me. You didn't mean to betray me in the worst way possible. You didn't mean to bring another man into the house I built for us. You don't deserve me, Shori, and I'm done pretending you do." The man muttered a hasty apology and bolted from the house, leaving Shori alone to face Obo. Tears streamed down her face as she begged for forgiveness, but Obo's expression remained cold. "No, Shori," he said. "This marriage is over. Pack your things and leave. I won't spend another day sharing my life with someone who doesn't value or respect me." Shori stared at him, stunned by the firmness in his voice. Slowly, she turned and began packing her belongings, realizing there was no way to undo the damage she had caused. Within an hour, she was gone, leaving Obo alone in the house that now felt lighter, freer, and more peaceful. After few days, Obo asked Thandi to meet him at a cafe. He needed to express his gratitude for everything she had done for him. When she arrived, her face lit up at the sight of him standing and walking toward her with his cane. "You look amazing, Mr. Obo," Thandi said, smiling warmly. "Please, call me Obo," he replied with a grin. "And it's all thanks to you. I don't think I would have made it through without your help." "You did all the hard work," Thandi said humbly. "I was just there to guide you." Obo took a deep breath, gathering his courage. "Thandi, over the past months, I've come to admire you more than I can say. You're kind, patient, and selfless. You've shown me what true care and compassion look like. And while I never intended for this to happen, I've realized that my feelings for you go beyond gratitude. Thandi's eyes widened, her cheeks flushing slightly. I know you might not feel the same way, Obo continued, and I won't pressure you. But I had to tell you. For the first time in a long time, I feel alive again, and a big part of that is because of you. Thandi smiled softly, tears glistening in her eyes. Obo, I've felt the same way for some time. But I didn't want to cross any boundaries or complicate things while you were healing. I care about you deeply. Relief and joy washed over Obo as he reached out to take her hand. Then let's take this one step at a time, together. In the weeks that followed, Obo finalized his separation from Shori, who left quietly without much protest. Meanwhile, he and Thandi began a new chapter together. Their relationship grew naturally, built on mutual respect, care, and shared experiences. Obo eventually regained full mobility and returned to his work, thriving in ways he hadn't imagined. And with Thandi by his side, he found a love that was honest, supportive, and healing, a love that felt like a second chance at life. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please like, comment and share. And don't forget to subscribe and click the notification bell so you won't miss our next video. Bye.